Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's June the 2nd, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented as always by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. So, Matt, yesterday we talked about a quarterback by the name of Dante Moore quite a bit. Well, today we're talking about a quarterback by the name of Emory Williams. And it's kind of interesting trying to get a handle around the recruitment of Emory Williams, Matt, because, you know, Miami still is believed to be recruiting Jaden Rashada. We know that they're continuing to recruit Dante Moore. And then there's Emory Williams here, who a week ago, it was looking like he might commit, and he pushed back that commit. He's still very interested in Miami. He will definitely be visiting the Miami campus in the month of June. But things are changing so quickly for him, and so many other schools are trying to get into the mix for Emory Williams that he keeps having to change his visit plans. So do you feel confident that he will get to Miami at some point in June, Matt?
100%. Yeah, it sounds like most likely they're leaning towards not taking 2 visits to Miami, but just doing 1. They were originally coming middle of the month officially, end of the month for the Legends camp. That would have been pretty much, if he was coming to Miami for sure, that's what they would have done, because why not? But now with these other teams that are saying just show up and you have an offer, you know, that type of thing, take an official visit, you know, a bunch of schools. It's interesting because, first of all, I called Emory initially yesterday. The story's up this morning, obviously. And then, you know, he didn't answer, which is par for the course sometimes, especially with recruits in you know, that are sort of having these hectic recruitments. So I called the dad who I have a good rapport with, just said, you know, checking in, seeing if there's anything new. And then the dad gave me a whole bunch of information. And then in the middle of that, Emory calls. And in my head, I'm like, do I tell the dad I got to go talk to Emory? Like, do I just tell Emory I'm talking to your dad? Hold on. Like, you know, what do you do? So what do you think I did, Gary? Did I hang up? Did I hang up on the dad and pretend I was disconnected and talk to Emory, which is what a good journalist would do? Or was I a nice guy and just blew up Emory?
There's no way you did that. No way.
Yeah. I went, I think I'm losing you. And I hung up and I talked to Emory. No, that's not what I did. I finished talking to the father and I said, you know, it's funny. I said, Emory had just called me. I'm going to give him a call now. And so I'm the nice guy. Luckily enough, Emory did answer. They both were it's funny because they both were very forthright. And usually when a recruit and his father are forthright, it means they're just telling you all the information. But in this case, they don't have any information to give. They both seem very confused. They want to make a decision in the next 30 days, and they have no idea where they're going to visit. I honestly believe that. Now, what they won't say is which schools are in the mix. You know, it's no secret that Indiana had been pushing at one point, but I think there's some bigger programs now they're more interested in. And I'm not sure the rationale or what advice they're getting from various people, but for whatever reason, they've decided the best course of action is not to even mention the name of any other school besides Miami at this point. And I guess it makes sense until they're, you know, I'm sure at some point on his Twitter timeline, he'll say, hey, I'm visiting so-and-so, or hey, I got an offer from so-and-so. And then he'll wind up at Alabama or Ohio State for sure, you know. No, that's a joke. But he's and the other interesting part is there's a quote in there where he makes it sound like Miami sort of is making him a plan B guy, and where he's waiting to see what other quarterbacks do. You know, you don't hear that too often from the top quarterbacks in the country saying, oh, and then there's other quarterbacks, I have to see what they do first. So, you know, we've also heard that
all that means is they're being honest with him.
Yeah, we've also heard right. We've also heard that that's something that is going on with him, that they want to, you know, that they're sort of not slow playing him, but just being very honest and upfront with him. They already told him he's going to redshirt. Now, apparently, they've told him he's not their top choice. Like, I mean, do this?
But look, I mean,
if you're dating somebody, you don't say, listen, I got another date, I got to go. listen, I can meet you at 11 p.m. because at 8 p.m. I have a more important person to meet. Like, that's not how you really do recruiting. But kudos to Miami staff, because honesty to me in recruiting is so rare. And I think it's rare because it doesn't usually work. But it's worked for Mario Cristobal through the years, because what he sells to recruits is everyone else is lying to you. We're telling the truth. You suck. We have other people ahead of you. Wait your turn, and maybe you'll get a chance to play here.
Listen, Emory, we love you. We love your game. We think you're going to be a great college quarterback. We are also recruiting the 2 top quarterback prospects in the country, or 2 of the top 3 or 4 quarterback prospects in the country. And if one of them wants to come here, we have to take that commitment.
Yeah. And by the way, this is the reverse of what happened to Jake Garcia last year. Remember, he committed to USC, and then they take 2 more quarterbacks. Like, that's what would have happened to Emory Williams if Dante or Jaden wound up coming later. So they're doing him a favor.
I like the Miami approach right now better than what happened to Jake Garcia last year. He's committed to USC for months and months and months and months and months, and then all of a sudden they start taking quarterback commits. That's not right. Here they're being upfront. We're going to hear. We will have a decision in the month of June from Jaden Rashada and Dante Moore. I imagine that's what they're hoping for. And then, we will be able to be honest with you and tell you where you stand with us. And, then you can make your decision accordingly. I mean, I don't think they've ruled out taking 2 quarterbacks. So even if Jaden Rashada or Dante Moore came, I'm not convinced that Emory Williams might still have a committable offer if he wants to go to Miami. And so we'll see what happens there. But it's an interesting story. It really is, just because of the uniqueness of the situation. And glad we're able to bring it to you this morning and let you guys get a handle on just where things stand with Emory Williams the day after we updated Dante Moore. And now if we could just get Jaden Rashada to answer the telephone or return calls, then we would hit the big 3 and you'd have updates on all 3 quarterbacks. But I don't know, Matt, Rashada. I don't know. I'm not feeling that one's really in a great place for Miami. It seems like he's all over. He went to Gainesville last week. I don't know. I don't feel great about Rashada anymore. I did at one point. At one point, it looked like Miami was doing pretty well. But unless somebody's hiding something, it just doesn't seem like it's doing as well these days.
Oh, the speculation, and I'm not saying it's true, but the speculation on the street is that you can't get an NIL deal in advance, but he's sort of putting out some feelers to third parties. Hey, what do you think would happen if this or that? And that's always going to be the hit or miss for any program in that situation. And honestly, it's difficult now, because as covering recruiting for so many years, I'm not a big fan of that. I always want a recruit to choose where he feels he fits best, where he feels he can be the most successful, and not where he can have an immediate payday. It just seems weird. It's not the NFL. But if you look at it like what it is, which is basically a professional sport now, I guess there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, this is the way things are going to be now. It's a shame, but you can't blame anybody for doing that. I'm not saying Jaden is, but anybody who does that, how can you blame them, even though it's technically illegal?
All right, so we've got that on the website today. We also have a real interesting recruiting story as well on Texas linebacker Darian Galette. He's hearing from not one, but a group of Miami coaches on a daily basis. And Matt, it's not just Charlie Strong on Galette. He's talking to Rod Wright and several other staffers pretty much every single day.
Yeah, and he says he's going to visit, but like some of these kids, they say it to say it. And not that I can read into his voice if he's actually going to come or not. I mean, he says he's going to take an official to Miami, but I'd say it's 50-50 if he'll actually come. And yeah, Miami's recruiting him hard. So, we'll see what happens. And Miami's in his top 7. So it's just something you got to monitor. But I would call him a long shot right now to be in the class. If he visits and he loves it, that could change. But he's never been to Miami on vacation. He says, he's researched the program. He's been talking to the coaches. So getting him on campus, that's when you'll find out.
Still got that little COVID scratch in your throat, huh?
Yeah, I'm negative. So I don't know. I guess I got something else.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
All right, we got a couple more things to talk about this morning, but first, let's hear from our friends at LifeWallet.
Hey, Morgan. What are you going to do?
I have to go to practice.
Me too.
Well, don't forget your life wallet.
Oh my gosh, I always forget my life wallet.
You forget everything.
I can't go anywhere without my life wallet.
Life Wallet. Saving time, saving lives.
All right, man. Another really cool story on the website this morning involves the new, I guess it's an app called Cameo. Is Cameo just an app, Matt, or is it also a website? I haven't really.
It's both. It's not actually new.
Okay.
We've used it for our children in the past for their celebrity stars, and in one case, it was a Survivor. My kids like watching Survivor, so we got him one of the champions or runner-ups or something, saying all these things. Join me in Survivor. You're good at this. You're good at that. And my son would probably last 30 seconds. He'll tell you he'll last 30 days, but which I think is what you're supposed to do to win. I don't think he'd last that long. Hopefully, he's not going to watch this episode. He never does, so I think I'm safe in saying that.
All right. Well, Cameo is an application where people can order recorded messages from their favorite stars. Stars in the sports world, entertainment stars, Motown legends. Smokey Robinson is on the front page of their website. He's on there. There's a whole lineup of stars, and I'm just going to take a quick look here. There should be a sports category, athletes. There we go. And we'll pull up football, and just to give you an idea of the kind of guys that are on here. I mean, Brett Favre is on here. Mike Leach, the coach, is on here. $150. He'll record a message for you. Ray Lewis is on here. $330. You could get a message from Ray Lewis. Well, a couple Miami Hurricanes are now on here as well. And, Matt, you can get a message from Xavier Restrepo for the cool price of $54.99. I think that was interesting pricing. And Mitchell Agut is on there as well. You can get a message from him for a bargain basement rate of $19.99. And a couple other guys like Will Mallory is making some noise about possibly getting on Cameo as well. I think, Matt, that it's not going to be very long where almost every player has a type of relationship with Cameo or something like Cameo where they can make money on NIL deals by recording messages for fans.
Yeah, and it's funny, the idea, sorry, the idea for this story came over the weekend. I was up, my nephew and niece are twins, and they had their graduation. So that's where I was. My secret location, my top secret location where I filmed that one show from was in the Berkshires up in Western Massachusetts. And so my nephew and I, we were sitting outside, and he says, out of nowhere, he says, "Do you know there's Miami Hurricanes on Cameo?" And I said, "What?" And then he says the names of all these former Hurricanes and current Hurricanes who are on Cameo. And I said, "Wow." I said, "I should write a story on that." And he says, "You should." And I said, "I'll credit you." And he said, "Please don't." So so Joshua Bernstein gets no credit. However, he is a basketball student athlete. He's a senior in high school. Obviously, he just graduated. He's going to my alma mater, the Mighty Tufts Jumbos. Thank you very much.
And he's playing basketball there?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, highly recruited prospect. 6'11".
Wow.
Yeah, 6'11" barnstormer. Programs around the country wanted him: Duke, Miami, North Carolina, but he wanted to go to Tufts. So, okay, so he didn't get offered from anywhere except like Tufts, Amherst. He got some nice D3 offers.
He gets to play college basketball. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, put this on your list, Gary. You know how I told you highlights? Look, in football, I'm not a big believer. Anyone can look good. He actually made a senior year highlight tape just of his dunks and his dominating smaller people. Like, not a real highlight tape. He did it as a joke.
How tall is he?
6'11".
But
when you watch, so Joshua Bernstein, anybody who wants to go watch it, you can go watch it. I think he'd like to get a few extra views anyway. Shout out to my nephew for coming up with this story idea. There's his shout out. But if you watch it, he looks like the greatest player in the history of the world, Gary. And that's my point. When you put together a highlight video, I mean, you're gonna look pretty good. You should watch the video, Gary. Okay.
6'11" is 6'11". I will watch the video.
Learn something. Watch the video.
I absolutely will go watch Joshua Bernstein's highlight video on YouTube.
Yeah. And by the way, somebody posted the greatest highlight huddle video of all time on our message board, which I must have missed back in 2015 when the person made it. It's a bench player who never got in a game. And every time the camera pans around to the bench, he highlights himself standing on the sideline while the play's going on in the huddle video, which I thought was brilliant. But anyway, back to this Cameo thing. So I spoke to Xavier Restrepo and his agent about it, and I said, what a great idea, because there are so many Hurricane fans who have kids who watch the Hurricanes, and they want, how cool is it for your 5-year-old or 10-year-old to wake up on their birthday and you say, here's your present, you hand them a cell phone, and the cell phone, you hit play, and it's Xavier Restrepo and these other potentially future guys that'll join it saying, hey, so-and-so, I wanted to wish you a happy birthday. I'm so glad you root for the Hurricanes. I'm going to score a touchdown in the first game for you. Whatever it is. Like, how cool is that? So I'm super happy. And Xavier is, by the way, one of my favorites. He's not at Tavares Gooden level. Tavares Gooden, like I told you, is a level 10. Xavier's like a level 8, which is top tier for sure. And me, I'm a harsh grader. Most of the past Hurricanes, in the 4 to 5 range, which is very good. For you, they'd be 10s. But Xavier's a great guy. Great guy. I've covered him since high school, and I think he's gonna have a great season. I think he's gonna have a lot of. I told his agent, I said after this story, hopefully he gets a lot of cameos, because so far he's had 5. So hopefully he gets a little bit more action now.
Well, I guess that's why the agent cooperated, because maybe he'll get more cameos. Well,
the agent, it was really no issues whatsoever. The agent actually put Xavier on the phone with me. Three-way called him in, and it was great.
All right, so those guys, you can get stuff from them on Cameo. And by the way, Matt, I can't find that video, so please email me the link to Joshua Bernstein's highlights.
How do you spell Joshua?
I did Joshua.
How do you spell Bernstein?
Bernstein.
All right, now try apostrophe 22 after that. See how that works.
Okay. And by the way,
and you have to go to the season highlights, not the most recent highlights, the second to most recent highlights.
All right, it's not coming up for me.
It's coming right up for me.
All right, well, just send me the link. We don't need to talk about this on this show. So just send me the link. But what we do need to talk about on the show is there was a demand on the message boards yesterday to hear the story about your family name. So before I get to the final subject that I would like to touch on today's show that actually pertains to the news of the day, let's go ahead and accommodate that poster and very quickly explain to him the deal with the name Shodell.
Well, I have a feeling that message board poster is going to be as disappointed as he's been watching the Hurricanes for the last 20 years, okay? It's not an amazing story. I wish I could make something up that would be super exciting, like, going to jail and being threatened to be killed. I'm going to go witness protection program, but no, there's nothing like that. Basically, what happened is my grandfather was working in New York. He got his CPA, couldn't get a job because of anti-Semitism. His last name was Schonbaum, which is a Jewish name. I mean, your name's Schonbaum, you're pretty much Jewish. So he's like, man, I can't get any work. I think it's because of anti-Semitism, and it's a hard thing to, like, what do you do? What do you do if that's your heritage, that's your, but you can't get a job? You have to basically pretend you're somebody else. It's ridiculous. So he made up the name Shodell, and he got a job pretty soon afterward. And the Shodell name is now in legend. It's a legendary name. We've been so successful. Maybe someday I'll change it back to Schonbaum, because there's no anti-Semitism anymore. So now I can just do that, right?
That's a great story.
You think so, really?
Yeah.
By the way, he got a CPA. He got a job as a CPA as an accountant with a window firm. This is a true story. I know you don't want to hear it or whatever. You're bored. Nobody else wants to hear it. I don't care. I'm telling it anyway. He read an article in the New York Times about Albert Einstein and how Albert Einstein's house was really, really cold. So he wrote a letter to Albert Einstein saying, I represent this window firm. We would love to install double-paned windows in your house. It should keep the heat in. You won't be as cold. And Albert Einstein actually responded to my grandfather's letter and explained he thinks better when it's cold. And the reason I know what Albert Einstein's response was is I have the Albert Einstein response letter in a frame under museum glass on my son's wall in our house right now. So it's a pretty cool family heirloom, you know. Dear Mr. Shodell, da 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 da, sincerely Albert Einstein, signed by Albert Einstein himself, not like some weird thing, written with a typewriter from back in those days. So that's pretty cool. And if he hadn't changed his name from Schoenbaum to Shodell, I would not have that Albert Einstein letter on the wall in my son's room right now. So I guess that's part of the story too, right?
I'm sure it's a big part of the story. All right. So
I don't know. Are you making fun of me? I don't even know what that means.
I get a kick. It's a hysterical subject. I mean, I don't want to go on and bore people to death, but it's interesting.
People are bored anyway with whatever we say. What's the difference?
Yeah, good point. All right. This is not boring. This is interesting as hell. So Isaiah Wong, okay, the basketball player, quality guard who's just not quite good enough for pro basketball yet. And he needed to come back. Never should have even entertained going to the NBA. His game still needs a lot of development. Needs to get stronger, needs to get more well-rounded, needs to improve his outside shot, needs to improve his free throw shooting, needs to improve his defense. Okay, so that's a lot of categories that I just threw out there. But he did decide again to put himself out there to the NBA scouts and get a gauge on whether he had a future in the NBA draft this year. And not surprisingly, he found out that he did not. So Isaiah Wong has now announced that he will be back to play basketball for the U next season. And Matt, I think this is a big deal, man. I think that it's a big deal because you're going to put him with Nigel Pack. You're going to put him with Omier and the other guys that they picked up here in the transfer portal, the freshman recruits that they have coming in. And I really think that Isaiah Wong is the final piece to a really good basketball team this year. And before you dispute it, remember what I said last year.
I dispute it. It's time for my DNR, my daily negative rant. Of course,
remember, but I was right last year, right? When I said I really like the way that basketball team was coming together. They went to the Elite Eight.
My daily negative rant is called Gary Ferman, the flip-flopper. Because wasn't it Gary Ferman yesterday who said the disparity between salaries, NIL deals, in locker rooms is going to crush the locker room morale. And now you're gung-ho about a guy who was so upset about the discrepancy that he almost left the program because he wasn't getting more money, and he tried to weasel more money out of John Ruiz. And now it's fine. Now it's great. He's back. Who cares? So which is it, Gary Ferman? Which is
his agent that did that? He detached.
Oh, okay. You know what went in. The agent didn't check with Isaiah. Just said, Isaiah, you're not going there unless they give you more money. That's what happened.
No, I think the agent was trying to cover his own butt because he got Nigel Pack more money than he got Isaiah. And if you're Isaiah and his family, of course you're sitting there saying, what the hell? This kid hasn't even stepped foot on campus yet. Why is he getting more than Isaiah? Natural reaction, but they worked it out. And now Isaiah Wong's coming back. And to me, that's a really good thing for Canes basketball and Jim Larranaga going forward.
So when Nigel Pack's eating at Joe's and Isaiah Wong is at, what's it called? Five Guys across the street from UM, no problem, right?
Oh, I think they made it right for him. I think they're getting him.
They did not give him more.
Well, that we know of.
I'm not giving him more money
that we know of right now. But that doesn't mean he didn't get more money from somewhere.
Okay, we'll see. Okay. Well, listen, I'm being a little hard on Gary.
You're being harsh.
I'm trying to have some fun with Gary. I'm trying to have fun with Gary because he deserves to have some pain once in a while. But yeah, of course, I agree with you. It's a big deal.
I've had enough pain lately. Trust me.
It's a big deal for the Hurricane basketball program.
Everyone's taking their pounds of flesh these days, Matt Shodell.
Oh, I got my 2 pounds. But the nice thing is with the two, remember last year they brought in 3 transfers. One of them, Jordan Miller, is still here. I would argue the 2 transfers they got now are better than the as good as Charlie was, and who am I missing? Charlie, Jordan, and who was the 3rd transfer last year? There was a 3rd transfer, right? I'm losing my memory.
Oh my God, my mind's drawing a blank too.
Who was it?
No,
was good.
There was Moore and Miller were the 2 big transfers.
There was only 2?
I think so.
Was there only 2?
Yeah, I don't think.
Okay.
Anybody.
So now they have 2 new ones coming.
Came back.
Who are both great. One a point guard, one a big man. They got 4 freshmen coming in who should all be really good. Like this on paper is a better team I think that last year's team, even though they lose McGusty, which
We'll
obviously
see.
was their
We'll
top
see.
scorer.
Last year's team went to the Elite Eight. That's a big act to follow.
Yeah, but last year's team, remember, they struggled for the first half of the season. They really weren't that good until late in the year. This year's team has a chance to be good the whole way through. And somebody asked me yesterday, somebody posted on the message board yesterday, and I don't know why they asked me and not you. Maybe they asked both of us. Will Miami basketball be a preseason top 15 team? To which I emphatically replied, no, because the national media doesn't like Miami in basketball. Probably in football either, for that matter. But there's no way. I mean, Miami will be, in my opinion, a Sweet 16 team next year. It wouldn't shock me if they're not even in the top 25 to start this season. Like, it's ridiculous. The ACC media always picks them in the bottom 5 in the conference, no matter what. And I would love to go back and look at this, and sometime I will. But I would say probably in the entirety of Jim Larranaga's tenure, which has been 58 years, maybe once or twice has Miami finished below where the ACC media picked Miami to finish. I mean, it's got to be a crazy discrepancy between being above and being below where the ACC media journalists who all live in North Carolina think the Miami program will be.
I see a couple keys. I think that Jordan Miller has to develop a three-point shot, and I think Isaiah Wong's outside shooting needs to improve as well. If those two can consistently hit jumpers from the outside, this could be a very special basketball season. But you got to be able to hit those shots that Cam McGusty hit last year from the perimeter, and he became a real good perimeter shooter. If those guys can do the same, could be a good basketball season once again in 2022, 2023. All right, well, that's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and starting your day with us. For Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. We'll see you next time, everybody.